Okay, so when we look at Iran today, it's incredibly easy to get caught up in the daily news cycle, right? We tend to view it simply as a modern nation-state. But to truly understand this country, we need a complete perspective shift. We're actually looking at a 5,000-year-old civilization. In this explainer, we're going to trace an unbreakable thread of cultural resilience that has somehow survived empires, invasions, and revolutions to get us to where we are right now.
Just to give you a sense of the sheer gravity of this history, the German philosopher Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel literally called the Persians the first historical people. And he wasn't exaggerating. The early Iranian empires quite literally laid the administrative and cultural foundations for the known world. They set a massive precedent for how diverse, sprawling populations could actually be governed under a single umbrella.
Now, covering thousands of years of history is a massive sweep, so here is our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with the world's first superpower, then Islamized but not Arabized. Number 3, the Safavid turning point. 4, the Constitutional Revolution. 5, oil, interventions, and coups. And finally, number 6, the Islamic Revolution.
All right, let's jump right in with part 1, the world's first superpower, looking at the ancient foundations of the Iranian plateau.
It's honestly an incredible story of survival. Long before Rome was an empire, we see the Medes unifying the plateau, leading straight to Cyrus the Great, founding the massive Achaemenid Empire. And what's wild is that even a sudden, overwhelming interruption by Alexander the Great and the Greeks couldn't erase their identity. Native rule bounced right back with the Parthians, eventually propelling into a magnificent golden age under the Sasanian Empire.
Here's the really crucial thing about Cyrus the Great. He didn't just conquer territories stretching across 3 continents through brute force alone. He utilized a genius model of administrative tolerance. By actually respecting local religions and cultures, he built humanity's largest empire up to that point. It was a true superpower, built on a foundation of integration, not just destruction. Moving right along to part 2, Islamized but not Arabized. The conquerors conquered. So the 7th century rolls around, and the Arab-Muslim conquests sweep out of the Arabian Peninsula. This brings about the fall of the Sasanian Empire and a profound transition from Zoroastrianism to Islam. But a really fascinating divergence happens here. In places like Egypt or Syria, the conquests led to full Arabization, completely replacing native languages and cultures. But Iran, they experienced a conqueror-conquered motif. While adopting Islam, Iranians fiercely protected their distinct Persian language and culture. They essentially absorbed and transformed their invaders, which is a pattern they'd repeat centuries later with the Mongols.
Historian Bernard Lewis hit the nail on the head capturing this phenomenon, noting that Iranian Islam became a second advent of Islam itself, often referred to as Islami Ajam. The Persians took this new religion and intertwined it with thousands of years of cultural heritage, sparking what we now know as the Islamic Golden Age in literature, medicine, and philosophy. That thread of identity, it was simply unbreakable by foreign invasion.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit to part 3, the Safavid turning point, forging a modern identity from 1501 to 1736. So after centuries of being ruled by fragmented foreign powers, Arabs, Turks, and Mongols, the Safavids finally reunified the nation in 1501. And suddenly, boom, you have this massive cultural renaissance. Fine arts boomed, and cities like Esfahan became these global architectural marvels, re-establishing Iran as the ultimate economic bridge between East and West. But the absolute most enduring Safavid legacy was religious and social. Imposing 12 Shia Islam as the state religion instantly forged a distinct Iranian Shiite identity, completely separating them from their Sunni Ottoman neighbors. It also cemented this historic alliance between the ulama, the clergy, and the bazaar, the merchants. It's a turban and crown dynamic that would dictate Iranian politics for centuries to come. Absolutely crucial for understanding modern Iran. Which brings us to part 4, the Constitutional Revolution, the demand for democracy between 1905 and 1911. By the early 20th century, things are getting incredibly tense. The ruling Qajar dynasty was crippling the country with massive foreign debt, practically selling Iran off piece by piece with huge economic concessions to the British and Russians. Naturally, this sparked massive public outrage. And remember that old Safavid alliance of merchants and clergy? They reunited, joined this time by intellectuals and urban workers. Through highly coordinated civil resistance, they literally forced the Shah to agree to Iran's first constitution and the creation of a national parliament, the Majlis, in 1906. It was this unprecedented demand for native sovereignty and democratic representation. All right, moving into the mid-century with Part 5, Oil, Interventions, and Coups. The Cold War Crisis of 1953.
Enter oil. The discovery of massive oil reserves deeply entangled Iran in the geopolitics of the Cold War. In the early 1950s, the democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized the country's British-controlled oil industry. Facing strict British embargoes in response, a collapse narrative took hold in Washington. U.S. policymakers deeply feared that an oilless Iranian economy would inevitably collapse, paving the way for a Soviet communist takeover. Operating on this logic, the CIA and British MI6 orchestrated a coup in 1953 to overthrow Mossadegh.
The result? Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was reinstated as an autocratic ruler, this time with massive U.S. backing. Now, while this solidified Western influence and, kept the oil flowing, it left a deep, generational scar within Iran. For many Iranians, the coup was absolute proof that foreign powers would simply never tolerate genuine Iranian independence if it threatened Western strategic interests.
And that sets the stage for our final section, Part 6, the Islamic Revolution, the fall of the monarchy in 1979. So, by the late 1970s, Iran is essentially a pressure cooker. The Shah's top-down modernization had created a booming oil-rich economy on paper, but a severely repressed society in reality. Wealth inequality was staggering. These policies deeply alienated the traditional clergy. Furthermore, any political dissent was met with brutal censorship and torture by SAVAK, the secret police. Tragedies like the 1978 Cinema Rex fire, which killed hundreds and was widely blamed on the secret police, just fueled uncontrollable nationwide outrage against a monarchy viewed as a detached puppet of Western structures. Now here is a really vital piece of information to understand about 1979. It did not start as a strictly religious movement. Not at all. It was an incredibly broad-based civil resistance campaign. Communists, socialists, students, the merchant class, and Islamists all marched together to basically paralyze the country. Ultimately, the monarchy was completely dismantled, and the Islamist faction, led by Ayatollah Khomeini, consolidated power, officially transforming Iran into a theocratic Islamic republic.
So what does this all mean for us right now? Well, when you watch the news today and see Iran's actions on the global stage, I challenge you to look past the immediate headlines. From the Medes and the Safavids to the deep scars of the 1953 coup and the radical shift of the 1979 revolution, this nation operates on a 5,000-year-old legacy. How does an ancient civilization bound by an unbreakable cultural identity and a fierce historical resistance to foreign domination navigate the modern world right up to this very moment? Keep that continuous thread in mind, and you'll never look at global geopolitics the same way again. Thanks for exploring this explainer with me.